Karny, hello. It's lovely.
Hi. Hi, Shirel. Nice to see you again. And I don't see everyone that is online with us, but welcome to everyone. And I'm happy to share with you everything I know about what I did.
Perfect. So we're gonna jump right into the presentation so that we can, one moment, I will find it. Here it is. Yes, share. Okay. And Karny, just let me know that you see the full
Yes,
full
I
screen?
see. But
Perfect.
I also see the gallery with the people on the side. How do I take them off?
You can click the little I don't know how to call it in English. That's so funny. Can you see there the little squares at the top, or you can move it, but it will probably stay there. Let me know if you're
I closed it, but then I disappeared also. You disappeared.
Okay. Yeah, you can do. Let's leave it at that so we can jump in, as long as you're seeing the screen and what we're talking about.
It's fine. We are good.
Perfect. And you look lovely. As you know, I love your glasses. So that's fine. And we can focus on the art. This is the book cover, and we'll be talking about LeDor VaDor, but I want to take you and us back a little to your background so we can understand more about where you came from to this project. So one moment. Okay, so we're going back in time, a lot back in time. And if you can tell us a little, first of all, about where you started your studies, or how you came to be a draftsperson, before we even talk about the layout and its relationship to what you do in calligraphy.
Perfect. So first of all, I want to say that I started, I think, maybe age of 3. Drawing and painting and doing things from Play-Doh. At the time, it was plasticine. And my grandfather took a painting that I did when I was 5 years old and hung on his wall. I felt like a big artist. And actually, related to the book, I started at the age of 15 in the summer working for a textile design studio in Tel Aviv. This is when I first was introduced to instruments and material that later carried me through my life to the book and beyond. And from the textile studio in the summer, I worked there for 2 years. I really wanted to study drafting and architecture at Art institution in Israel. And my father was telling me, you finish high school, over my dead body, you're going to any other schools. So that part was put aside, and I rejoined my profession life in the army. I took a drafting course, was about 6 weeks, and then I was assigned to the engineering corps in the IDF. So the change was from textile design is 2D flat, while you have to look 3D when you work in architecture. After the army, I joined the architectural offices, where I was assigned mostly to the Department of Town Planning. And you can see the slide before, that was a master plan of Ashdod. And then afterwards, we were working on the master plan designing Ramat Aviv Bet. That's a suburb of Tel Aviv.
Karny, just a question. I'm stopping you for a moment. Are these at this point hand-drawn, or is this working on the computer?
There were no computer those days. This is 1967, 68, no computers. And
so this
I love the instrument.
So this is all hand-drawn, and I'm pointing it out also because there's something we already see here, the text and the layout and the sensibility of getting it all in the page. And when it's hand-drawn at this point, do you use pens, special pens? How What did you
That's
use?
what I'm coming to. We used rapidograph. So it's a special drawing pen instrument. It has different size nibs. It's not nibs, it's a tiny, like a needle with a hole where the ink is going through. And yeah, the rulers, the shablons that were used, this one also all drawn. This is a neighborhood in Kfar Saba, Rehov Tapuz, and it shows already a picture once the project was done. People are already walking. And this was in a book that the Office of Architecture are issuing for the 50 years anniversary of the office existence. Now we are going to, okay, before that, after the architect office period in 73, I got married and we moved to Curacao. In Curacao, I wanted to work in the profession, but you had to know Dutch. I did not know Dutch and my English was very, very poor. So I put that aside. And when we moved to Toronto in 1978, I took a course in Ryerson University. Now it's called the Toronto Metropolitan University. And this is a project that I did at the time, again, all hand-drawn. And I put those as an introduction to show that when you get to see my book, you see that there is a construction to the books, to the pages. So all that I learned through my life come now to be in the book itself.
And I can see here also the writing and the careful, very beautiful penmanship on these that are already also a kind of a preliminary hint to where you'll be going with this.
I will get into that. This is all in English. This is a 3D perspective view of the same plan that I did of the housing for the course in the university. And once I was finished with the Ryerson, I took courses at the Humber College, and that was already computer application for architecture. I hated it. I missed the instruments, and the time was bad also for economy. At the time, I took the AutoCAD and this course, the interest rate went high. People didn't buy houses. Houses were not building. Architectural offices were closed, and I gave up. And that's the point where I joined the calligraphic field. We had the instrument again in my hand, the ink in my hand. I just loved it. So from there, I never turned back.
It's also, I must say, I mean, the drawing itself in terms of your abilities is beautiful, and it's very clear, easy to see how much you enjoy it by the amount of details. Like there's no place where it's just kind of a sketch. It's all fully detailed, which I think again is very apparent in your work in terms of the diving into each of the details. So we're moving and kind of looking at your beginning, which was very much directed also towards family, right? So we'll see a few of them. And can you
It's directed to family, but can I put in, after I took some courses in calligraphy, I decided I'm going to do some projects in Hebrew because the calligraphy was all in English. So this is a haftarot that I did, the first haftarot I did for my daughter's bat mitzvah, and it is done on wood bark, not on paper. So that was a challenge for itself. And you can see that the writing is not in black, it's in red. I love colors, and you will see it through all my works. Very few things will be black on white. This is the second one I did for my son's bar mitzvah. And the paper itself is a commercial paper. So in a few slides, you will see one that I did for his son so many years after. By that point, I already did the background similar to that, but I did the background.
So we're going through a few of these because I think it gives kind of the background before we dive into specifics of the LeDor VaDor.
Right.
And here
this is another haftarot I did. Again, I used only black and white as a request for the boy who wanted it. And I use elements from my previous works into the books of haftarot. Since all the works that I did, a lot of them were ktubot or haftarot, I never had them. They are commissioned. So you say goodbye and the work is gone. So the book is a kind of, here I'm going to have a collection of all what I did in the past. But you will see the story is completely different afterwards. That's another one. I did a 3D paper cut of the illumination around. So it's playing white on white with the shades and the touch of color into it. That's the one that I did similar to the first, but the background I did myself, watercolor painting.
Okay, so here we're kind of setting the stage to move into the English Hebrew. Can you say a bit about the challenge? We'll start because we're going to go more into it as we move along, but this is kind of an initial challenge to yourself with the Hebrew and English. So can you say a little about that?
Okay, so a few of the works that you will see now were done during a course that I took for 1.5 years with a calligrapher who came to Toronto from out of town. And we had project to do once a month. And all projects were in English for everybody else, but me being me, Hebrew has to go in. So this is Hebrew and English quotation from the Bible. And the blue letters are paper cut and then superimposed on a background that I did. Later, I will be talking about being a left-handed calligrapher. That's coming into that also.
So I just want to ask you, because in this one you made, I mean, obviously we can see the Hebrew text is way shorter than the English text. And there are decisions to be made about composition once that happens. Do you play with it? Do you visualize it immediately? Like, how does that combination come up?
Sometimes, you know, I'm sitting watching television with my husband and he says, "You're not here." I said, "No, I'm thinking about a project." Or we drive to New York and he says, "You don't talk at all." I said, "No, I'm looking at the view, but my mind is working." So when somebody is asking me, "How long did it take you to do a page?" What happened here? I say, 60 years. I mean, it's a collection of things. And then I sit to the table and things just happen. And I always say there is hashgacha elyona, things that I don't plan. Yes. When things that I don't plan ahead, you think it is a boo-boo, but no, here it comes together. Yes, English is much longer than Hebrew. Whenever you take translation of the Hebrew, in English, the sentence is twice as long. So yeah, it takes planning and then it takes sketches to make sure that everything fits just right.
Okay, so this is another example of a play with them. I think I will move a little forward so that we don't...
I just want to mention one thing, to look on the left side and you can see the letters almost combine one to the other. You have to look to see that they're jumping from the English to the Hebrew to the English. So
I'll just point it out for people to see, Karny. So yeah. Wisdom, chokhmah, and wisdom.
And I picked a style of English lettering that will combine nicely with the Hebrew style of that particular letter.
I think there's also something beautiful because of the combination. It becomes almost, it becomes more like an image than an immediate text. We don't immediately interpret it as text and read it. It first appears as as an image.
Exactly.
Okay, so here there's another completely different play with the combination of Hebrew and English. Can you say a few words about this?
Okay, so again, that's I think it was a project that I did for that year-long course, and there are few layers to it. So you can see endeavour העומד בפני הרצון, and in the red big letter again, אם תרצו, אין זו אגדה, you can really...
One moment, I'll just translate. So here, endeavour עומד בפני הרצון is a Hebrew saying. There is nothing that stands against or before will, or if it's kind of, if you will it, it's possible. And then this one, אם תרצו אין זו אגדה, is a kind of version of that. If you will it, it's not a dream or not a legend, which is Theodor Herzl's famous sentence about creating a nation state for the Jewish people.
Right. And then in between, you can see also the gold letter in big on top of the red that says you can win. And then there is also a saying in English, and the text is written on the side. You want to read it?
No, I think people can read the text on the side. And to me, what's very interesting again here is the choice between legibility and using text as image, turning it into a pattern, which
it's
I think
almost like as abstract painting that not immediately you see everything. You have to really dip into it and search inside the image what you can read. So there are many layers.
I have a question. As someone born in Israel, living in Canada, living in two languages, is that something like that the mixture between them and the feeling that it's almost illegible, is that something that kind of speaks to your experience of the combination of languages?
Wow, I'm glad you put it. I never thought about it like that. Yes, I'm jumping between the two languages. Actually, I do speak not completely freely, but many more languages. So words are jumping in different languages. The children learn languages with me speaking English and using papiamento, which is the native language in Curacao where we were living, or words in Spanish. In school, we learned French. So yes, there is a mixture.
Okay, so we're going on and nearing our project, and here there's another kind of shift of format from the square to the circle.
Yes, so the design in the middle of the Hebrew alphabet I really did for a competition to get into a book, the ABC calligraphy book of Canadian calligraphy. And it was black and white, just the letters themselves. And then I used this combination of letters in many of my artworks. In this one, I did it in a circle because a circle is a beginning and no end. And that's like Kohelet sentences. All the rivers are going to the sea, and things don't have a beginning, don't have an end. So the ring around the letters on the white backgrounds are, the inner ring is in Hebrew and the outer ones are in English. Is there a way for you to zoom in?
I'm not sure that while I'm sharing, I can do that, so no.
Okay, so but if one would be able to see closely, you will see almost the letters are blending. The Hebrew and the English are very similar in forms, and the colors of the written letters are changing as the colors around the ring. So some words are in yellow, orange, red, etc.
So the letters are written on top of the white, but are matching the colors of the background with the shift of the circle.
Right. And the high in the middle is always in gold leaf.
You're a very patient, meticulous artist. This is a lot of work. We'll see
when you put it this way, yes. Now this one is a very special work, and it's very fitting for today, right? We want the peace. And again, the play of the letters in Hebrew, shalom and peace. I especially took the italic letters. So the mem and the p are similar, and the shin and the e are similar. And in the middle is written salam in Arabic. I had to go to the mosque in the neighborhood for the guide to show me exactly how to make the letter for this word. And the sentences around are all the sentences in our Bible that mention the word peace. And every place the word peace is mentioned, it is in gold. And the symbols around the Star of David are also symbols that have to do with peace. So the Kohanim, Birkat Kohanim with the two hands is that grant you peace. And there is the Kiddush cup and wine for Shabbat Shalom. The shofar for Rosh Hashanah. The two rings are symbolizing peace in the family. The candles for Shabbat. And in the yellow inside the star, there are doves of peace and there are pomegranates. So the piece is more complicated than just you look the Star of David. It was chosen for an exhibition at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., and they advertised all the activities of the cathedral for that month with the Star of David in the front page of the pamphlet. So for me, it meant a lot, being Jewish, the Star of David, the peace, and all this in the cathedral, it was very special.
It is.
Last year it was chosen for last year it was chosen for an exhibition in Paris. So I was very happy with that too.
I think there's also something very beautiful as an artist that each time we need to learn something new, it leads us to meeting with more people, like you mentioned, that visit to the mosque, which I think keeps artists always kind of open to new things, to new people, to learn new things, and to make sure, I think, the caring of getting the lettering right and meeting someone to actually know how to do it. So we're moving into some of the inspirations that you had for your own book. And you mentioned this, one of them, and we can see the beautiful illuminations, but actually I'm skipping here because I understood you have a story about this one, and it definitely influenced also the work which we will see. So if you can say a few words about your connection to this work.
Right. So as an artist, you always look for different sources and inspiration in order to create your things. And one of the things, between many of them, was the Lisbon Bible. And my father, may he rest in peace, who knew that I was doing calligraphy, every time would bring me a gift, a book that has beautiful artwork. He says, maybe you would like it. So he gave me the facsimile of the Lisbon Bible. And yes, I did use some of the design as inspiration for my works in Ktubot and in haftarot in the past, and it helped me to go through into my own book. And you can see here that this is almost like a Persian carpet. It has frames to it, and I think that the value of a Persian carpet many times is by how many frames they have, they count them. So the Lisbon Bible is one that gave me the inspiration to do things with frames.
Beautiful. And we're going to see it again as we encounter also what it inspired. I'm skipping forward to here. And
no, that was very important, but maybe...
sorry, no.
You know, maybe I will talk about it later, because this is the Bible that Donald Jackson did for it's called the St. John's Bible, and he was commissioned. He had 11 calligraphers sitting for quite a few years and do it, And he himself also did some of the writing and a lot of the illuminations. So I will talk about how he inspired me later I hope I will have a chance.
No, so maybe here, you're right, absolutely. So can you say?
So in 1994, I was the president of the Calligraphic Arts of Toronto. And at that time, we invited Donald Jackson to come and to teach us some of his skills. And one of the things that he was teaching us was gold leaf, how to use it and how to illuminate the letters. And comes the weekend, he stayed in our house. I invited him for Shabbat dinner with the family. And he was telling us how he is planning of making this special Bible. They have 7 volumes on this one. And he's ordering the kosher skins from Israel and the kosher ink from Israel. That was the first time I heard about kosher ink. And I thought to myself while he's talking, wow, that's an idea. If he's going to do a Bible, what I'm going to be doing. So yes, that was an inspiration to do something one day. But that was 1994, and I started my book in 2014.
So we're getting here to the drafts of the first haftarah. So maybe before we talk about these, since we just talked about the inspiration, so why haftarot? LeDor VaDor is a book of haftarot, of the text from the prophets that correspond to the biblical texts that are read each Shabbat. Why did you choose that rather than a different set of texts?
Okay, so first of all, the Bible doesn't have copyrights. If I would go and do Harry Potter, I have to ask permission to use sentences from there. So I always use the Bible, beside the fact that I have an attachment to the history. I was born to a tribe. The Rivlin family is a tribe, and we can trace ourselves to 1572, one generation after the expulsion of the Inquisition of the Jews from Spain. So a lot of the scholars that kept the family tree were rabbis. Those are the people that could write those days. Not everyone was proficient in writing. So we do have a record how we go back to 1572. So I use the Bible a lot. And why haftarot and not other things is to write the Torah, you are supposed to be sofer stam. I am not a sofer stam. Maybe one day I will learn and do it. But here, if I write the haftarot, I use my own letters. We will talk about it later. But yes, I decided I'm going to do a book of haftarot. And in this particular...
Yeah, if you can talk us through the drafts of like how...
Yes. So I read the text. I read the haftarah, of course, and then I go back and I read the parasha of the same week to see what the relation between one and the other. So the painting on the drafting on the left is relating actually to the parasha itself. And okay, in the parasha,
I found this on the web for is relating. Check it.
Right. One moment, Karny. I lost you. I don't know what happened. One moment.
Somebody was giving us a good idea.
Siri, for some reason, took over my computer for a moment. I won't say her name so she doesn't do that again. But I think that's what happened. So we're back.
Okay. So in the text itself, there is fire and there is water. So there is red and there is blue. And also it talks about the Apat Kanfot HaShamayim, the north, the south, the east, and the west. So I thought maybe I would do something with a compass. So this is a draft how I would like to do it. But my mind keeps on working, and I had few drafts for the same one. And the last one is the one on the right. And yes, there is a surprise because...
So one moment, Karny, before we go on, because I want to say something about this and ask you a question, because this we gave the title of this event, Illumination and as Interpretation. And I think now we're starting to get it, of like how deciding what and how to illuminate is actually a type of interpretation. And I do want to ask, when you read the biblical text and the haftarah, do you read it directly and kind of let your own thoughts guide you, or do you read commentary and base yourself on them too? Like, how do you approach the text in that way?
No, just the text from the book, not with the commentaries of Rashi and all the Talmudic that attached to it, just the text itself. And from the text, in many or almost all the haftarot, I also will pick a sentence or words from the parasha and put it as part of the illumination in the haftarah. And I also put the quotation place in my pages so people can go back and look at it.
So we're here. So we saw the draft, and now we see what actually transpired, and we're looking basically at the first page we're seeing from the book. So can you talk us a little through your choices, in this case your choices regarding the composition and the imagery and the text you chose to put from the parasha?
Okay, so the text from the parasha is the red sentence around the yellow circle. And it is the creation of the word, the first very sentence in the Bible that fits to the word Bereshit in the top. And the sun and the moon. So the sun is in yellow with the gold leaf. The moon is with silver. And the circle in the middle was supposed to be black, but I didn't want it black. This is the black hole. The same year that I did it, 2014, was talked a lot about the finding of the black hole and what is a black hole in the sky. And I figured I'm going to put it into this artwork. I wrote it in black, and the columns in between the sentences are always matching the title. So the title is in red, the columns are in red as well.
So
and on the bottom you can see the where is the haftarah, and underneath the Bereshit where I took the quotation from.
So I just want to also mention, if we're talking about this as interpretation, it's beautiful to see, because if you think of a Talmudic text, we'll always have like what they say and then where you can go for references and stuff. So in a way, this is happening on the page too, where you're giving your references, but also creating your own understanding of the text. So we're going to another one over here, Va'era, and actually
this one is the finished product, and I will lead you through how I got into it. So the parasha itself is talking about the Aseret HaMakot, the 10 plagues that God put on Egypt, Dam Tzfardei Kinim, and I tried to match the colors more or less to what it is. So blood is red and frog is green and hail is blue, etc. We have the Star of David in blue and silver, but if you start reading the silver sentence, it will continue into the blue and will finish in the silver again. Now, we were talking about the Hashgacha Elyona. Something happens when you don't plan it. I didn't plan to put the last sentence of the haftarah in the bottom, but I didn't have space for it in the star. When I did the rough, it was all working fine. But when I went to the,
I just want to show people the draft where that sentence does fit into the star.
Yeah, but it didn't fit in the end, and I found it beautiful. It gives a balance to the title on top and the sentence on the bottom. So to get to that, this was the first draft that I was doing, really rough in hand. I usually don't draw the Star of David so crooked. This is the second stage. I said, no, I'm not doing it like that. Maybe I should do it like this. Here already two colors are playing in my mind, the blue and the silver. And here I did the trial for those symbols around, the blood, Svardea, etc. And this is, I think, the only one that I did the illumination with color pencil, not with watercolor or other pigments.
So here on the page itself, it's colored pencils and not pigments?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and we see it here again, the final one. And here we're coming to the one that is very clearly influenced by the Lisbon Bible that you mentioned.
Right. So again, it talks about the Melech. The first word is the Melech, so I put a crown. Yeah.
Okay, and we have another one again that is influenced from the floral patterns. And we see here also I'd say, like, is each composition really rooted in the parasha itself, or do you sometimes just start from like, I want to have this composition, let's see what can fit to that? Like, does it always go in that direction of haftarah parasha composition, or do you have other ways of working?
No, the composition, what really goes first is the design, how I put the letters, because I start with the writing, then I go to the illumination, and the last one is the gold. So I'm trying to do
here, for instance, the writing on the diagonal, what led you to that choice?
Just I wanted this page to be different than all the others. And also the sentences on the sides are the one from the parasha, not from the haftarah itself.
Okay. So we're going a little bit into materials, and then we're going to go into the letters, and I might move us a little faster so that we have time for everything.
We need another hour, yes. Okay. So here we have the palette of the watercolor, the color pencil, the Japanese stick inks, the Chinese black ink, and the gouache.
And you also use dry pigments.
Right. So some of the colors I'm using dry pigments. I mix them together with gum arabic to bind them together.
And the choice of the different materials is based on what you feel like doing, or is it on
what
design?
I feel like doing? Just the day, what pops in my mind. Today I'm going to use this, or I want particular color. I don't find it in the gouache. I find it in the dry pigments. Those are the items I'm using to do the gold leaf. What I didn't put, pity, is what I'm using to write with.
Which is?
A metal nib.
Yeah. You put first the glue, right? That's the ink. But for the gold leaves, you put first the glue, then you lay the gold leaf on top, right?
There is a base, and then you put the gold leaf on top, and then you burnish it. And then you brush the excess away with that soft brush.
And that's actually a method that was used in ancient time, right? That didn't change much.
In ancient time, they used gesso that they made themselves. I am a modern woman. I skip some steps. I'm using modern materials.
Okay, so we're getting into the letters because one of the things I found extremely curious, or I was very curious about, is your choice of letters. So I'm going to show a few of the other letters so we can get directly into your letters.
Yes.
These are obviously the stem. I'm going through them quickly because I'm interested in yours. The stem letters, the Yemenite style, the Sephardic style, the Rashi style, which you did use, and you know what, before we go into your letters, let's talk a little bit about directions, because we'll get also to how you illuminate and work. So can you say a little bit about the directions and the differences between working in English and Hebrew?
Right. So English, you can see the arrows, how you create the letters. You pull from the right to the left, and then you go down in a circle. In the Hebrew, you really go down, and then you pull from the left to the right. And the difficulty I had is that I'm a left-handed. So in order to pull and push with the left hand, for me, it's easier if I turn the orientation of the page 90 degrees clockwise, and I write from the bottom to the top. And this way I don't smear the letters that I wrote previously. So here are those are the letters that I developed specially for this particular project. They are contemporary Hebrew letters, and I pulled down from the letters wherever I could a little tail with a small diamond. And I wanted this to fill the space between the lines, but also to give it a sense of music, because you chant the haftarah, you don't just read it. And in the old time, when we didn't have computers and printing, you did the musical notes with little squares and lines going up and down. So I kind of imitated it into the letters, and this is how the letters are going through the whole book. Also, instead of a column, the two dots, I'm using a square, and I fill the square in the color matching the title of the haftarah. And between the sections of haftarot, and also on the bottom of the text, always you will see 3 or more diamonds in this, and they will always be in gold. Those diamonds also appear in the illumination in between the flowers and the other elements.
And why a diamond? What led you to that choice?
Just a diamond is a diamond.
That's a good reason. It's also, look, I think many people, when they start doing such a project and embarking on such a huge project, they won't also go and invent their own lettering. I mean, I don't know, people will use other Hebrew letters. As we saw, there are a variety of existing letters. So do you know to say when it crossed your mind, oh, I'll invent my own?
No, I just sat down and wrote it, but you can see that the gimel is pulling down to the left, the haf is pulling down, the nun. So when you go and look at the page itself, you will see that there is a rhythm to it. They just sing by themselves, and that's what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah, and I think it's also, we'll see it in a moment, but it's very clear that you don't want to, figuratively speaking, all puns intended, you don't want to stay in the lines. Like the letters are constantly escaping, even the ones that traditionally would stay within the structure of a line. So
yeah, they're trying to fill up the gap in between the line themselves. Oh, this is an old picture of me. I was young once, and I wasn't white. And yes, I was illuminating. So you can see the flowers on the bottom right. I was trying to paint them on the project that I was working on, and I was using 2 hands.
So you work with 2 hands, because you said you're left-handed, but here we're seeing
I write.
Both your hands are at work.
Yeah, I write with my left hand. I hold the brushes in my left hand, but I do everything else with my right hand. I play tennis with my right hand. I'm knitting with my right hand. I'm sewing with the right. I'm cutting with the right. So yeah, the right hand is actually supporting while you're doing the left hand writing. You support yourself with something with the other hand.
Okay, so we're seeing also here the view, and we're seeing
this is where that's where I'm sitting now. That's the view I look at when I'm working. And that's the table that the computer is standing on now. And you can see the orientation of the writing from bottom to up, sideways. So this is really a pain in the neck, you know, like they say, because I'm sitting like this writing. It's not easy. Getting more complicated when you are on in age.
So here
we are.
First stage. We have arrived. And I want you to maybe say for a moment your choice of naming this book LeDor VaDor.
LeDor VaDor means from generation to generation. This is tradition. When you take this book, you go through adventure in color and in shape, but in the end, it is staying from generation to generation. When I finished the book and my brother came to visit from Israel and I showed it to him, and almost the last one is Shabbat Shuvah, and he says, that's mine. I mean, you know, it touched him to see his, and he chanted it. I don't think he chanted it since his bar mitzvah. And here it comes back. So yes, I wanted to stay from generation to generation. And when I go to the synagogue and they start singing LeDor VaDor, Agid Godlecha, this, you know, it comes back to me. So yes, that's the book.
Now we're not going to, Karny, one moment. We're not going to be able to talk at length about all of them, but I do want to kind of ask more questions as we're seeing these beautiful designs. And I do want to ask you, how many years did it take you working on this book?
9 years. I started in 2014 and I finished about a year ago. When it went to the bookbinder, it was taking him about a year to bind it.
And is there a favorite page that you have?
Yes.
Oh, which one?
I like all, but there is, I don't know even if it is in here.
Tell me, maybe I'll remember.
The one that has the 2 columns with the tiger lily in white and the pomegranates.
I'm not sure. We'll see if we get there. I do want to mention here we have 2 haftarot, and people can probably see, you know, what we talked about, the squares or the diamonds that between the sentences and how they match the title, and how you do kind of choose to break the lines wherever you can. I'm assuming this is gold leaf. Well,
yes. Yeah. So
can you say a little about this one?
Yeah, I like this one too. This one I did when COVID came, and you can see the cells of the virus going all over the place. Some of them are blind embossed, so you cannot really see them. And as the virus is all over the place, so it also goes right into the text. And instead of the square in the end of the sentence, I use the circles, and I don't use the diamond in the descenders of the letters. I finish them as a needle, going sharp edges to the bottom. The 6th line on that haftarah is talking about the pain that we are going through, and it says the whole head is sick and the whole heart is faint. And I emphasize it in red also inside the haftarah. So like I say, my haftarot are not only reflection of the text themselves, sometimes on the historical event at the time that I created it.
Which actually, again, does speak to interpretation, because most interpretations and commentaries on the biblical text or in general, they usually include something of the historical context. So I think in that way, this freedom kind of really brings it back to what commentary
yes and is. No. Yes and no. When you saw the ladder, when Jacob was dreaming and the angels going up and down, that was the time that the Me Too movement was very popular, was talked about. So the angels are women. They're females up and down.
And I think that's exactly it, that you're bringing in your own interpretations, you're bringing in history, right. Which I do think that commentary throughout history is influenced by people's own circumstances and reality. So in that way, I think it not keeping in line with traditional commentary, but rather keeping in line with the fact that commentary is very often personal. Right. We'll see a few more, because I do want to leave a moment or two for questions, and maybe talk about this, because it's such a different composition and design of a page here.
Right, so the orientation is completely different, and I put it on the side that will leave me the space to put, not as a frame, the illumination, but as part of the whole thing. And of course, I took it from that sentence that I wrote in English, how they splat the blood all over the Mizbeach and the opening of the Ohel Moed. So the sentence is from the parasha, and the blood is all over the haftarot.
And how did you reach this like backdrop? How did you create this background on the page?
With toothbrush.
I'm getting all your secrets out over here. Look, sometimes
with the toothbrush, and then you splatter it like that, and you pray that it will not spill or block your letters. I don't remember anymore. I think I did the writing before I did the splatters. So yeah, I was lucky.
Brave woman. Okay, so here we see, first of all, the size of the book. So we've been seeing it on the screen, and it's lovely to have this so that people understand like what size of pages we're talking about, and can understand why it took a year for the binder to bind this. We're seeing the dedication over here. And your beautiful illumination. And
that's the one, my favorite. You see, you asked me.
Good.
That's the one. So it was talking about the two. Sorry.
Yeah. So tell us why it's your favorite.
I just like it. I like the color. In one aspect, it has the very strong pomegranate color. And then there is the very soft lilies, and those are mentioned as the decoration of the pillars in the Mikdash. And one of them is Yachin, the other one is Boaz. And the sentence in the bottom is a quotation from the parasha of the same week. Yes.
And these illuminations are created, do you do them with watercolor, with gouache? I think this is...
With gouache and watercolor, they are interacting in between them, yes.
Okay, we're seeing a few more, and maybe can you say a word about these down here?
So again, in the parasha mentioned the instrument that we were playing in Ohel Moed, in the Mikdash. So I put those instruments on the bottom.
Okay, so I'm moving us forward just because we'll go a little over time, but I do want people to be able to see everything, including it takes 2 kids to carry this heavy book.
The book is 35 kilos, yeah. The book in the box is 35 kilos, and there is, in addition to the book, a small booklet that has like explanation in Hebrew and in English about the illumination, why I used it, and what material I used for each one of the pages.
A kind of personal Rashi for the book, so people can
Correct.
look at the book with the codicil. Here are a few more examples, and then you're on 9 years later, you're on to your next volume. Can you say a few words about this?
No, the next volume I started about 4 years ago, after I finished the first one. And it is for the special Shabbatot, for the holidays and the fast days, all the haftarot for those events. So Rosh Hashanah with the symbol of the 2 fish, and Yom Kippur, I use the talit for the Ashkenazim is the black talit, and the Sfaradim are using the blue talit. So I used those two for the Yom Kippur with the shofar on the top. The Sukkot, I used the different flowers blooming in Israel at that time. These are the fruits that are ripen at this season of the year in Israel. One of them I just use orchids, and this is the last haftarah from the second book. And just again, the Hashgacha Elyona, this Chazak ve'ematz, two words, didn't fit into the circle. So it fits very nice in the, and it is all in a circle, no beginning and no end, because when we finish reading this haftarah, we go back to the parashiot.
So I'm stopping the share. We have a few more minutes, and I want to ask some of the questions that are going in. Okay, so here are, first of all, Rochelle commented, and I totally agree that the way you work itself is a commentary of visual midrash, and I totally agree. There is a very specific question here about using a comma versus a colon after a specific verse. So I'll ask this: your choice of colon or comma, or your interpretation of those, is it based on aesthetics or is it based on the original text?
I put it in the end of a sentence where in the text there is a colon.
Okay,
so there is comma in reading the Bible. Comma is a different symbol. I just replaced the columns with the squares, and that's just visually because.
Another question is where. So there's one book. Where does it live right now? Are there prints, so it's in your room until someone buys it, a museum hopefully. Right. And are there prints of any of the pages? Are you planning to create prints of this work?
This is taking thinking. I would like to print it. Right now is not in my budget. So hopefully one day it will be printed. And yes, I was hoping to be able to print separate pages. So if people will buy the book and they will want particular haftarah, I would be able to print that particular page in large. So as a poster or as a picture.
So maybe one, I have two questions. There's a beautiful question here of if people asking if they can donate to fund the print of the book, or as so you know, I don't know of any artist in the world that will say no to someone that is offering to fund anything. So I will answer for you, yes, and we can help figure it out in some way. And there's a question here from Jeff: is this digitally archived, and before binding were each of the pages photographed
yes.
for archiving?
Yes, Jeff, the answer is yes. I had a professional photographer doing it. Now, as for the book again, the first book is bound and ready. The second volume, I'm waiting for the bookbinder to be ready to bind it. And in the meantime, I started the third volume and I'm doing the Chamesh Megillot. So I hope to bind the Chamesh Megillot as a part of the second book. So another one that will weigh another 35 kilos. And my idea was to, when it comes to a print, to print all the 3 volumes under one book. So it will have like 150 pages, something like that. So it's not exactly ready yet.
Yeah, I have here a comment that is saying that people might want to purchase just their own haftarah for a gift. So maybe it would be good to also have them a possibility of, I'm getting a lot of comments of like, that would be good, like sales and marketing comments. I'll pass them on to you.
I didn't come for that, but it certainly will help. Yeah, so I have a web page. You will be able to put the link to my web page, and through that they can be in touch with me. Also, you can put my email address. That will be even better if they're interested in more details, to directly email to me or my telephone number.
So as you know, in the follow-up email, you'll be receiving the recording as well as all the details and contact information. I do want to ask you one last question, because the work of an artist in the studio can be long, as in 9 years, and quite lonely sometimes. How does it feel to share it in this way? How are you feeling now?
Now I feel good because we finished the 1 hour. I didn't sleep few nights. I was here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I made notes that I didn't even look at them once, because you are the best, Shirel. You led me through like a knife through butter. It was beautiful. I never thought in my all my year that I would be sitting in front of people from all over the world and talk about my art. So this is the first for me. I hope not the last. And it feels good. Thank you.